SeaWorld's thrilling Orca shows hide a darker truth about the powerful animals they try to tame. Malia, an orca born in captivity, seemed calm until one quiet June day, when her instincts took over. A trainer stood too close, and Malia's jaws snapped shut, trapping the trainer's arm and breaking the illusion of control. What followed was a cover-up, leaving a haunting question. Can we ever truly control the wild? Malia is the daughter of Nanali and Tilikum. She has lived all her life at SeaWorld Orlando. Basically, that's her home. Born and raised in captivity, she's grown familiar with human interaction. Yet beneath her trained demeanor, Malia remains a powerful predator by nature. In 2022, Malia was just 15 years old when the unimaginable happened. Orcas are called killer whales, and as their name implies, they kill and eat things that are even way bigger than them. If that didn't justify just how terrifying they are, I would have you know that these very incredible creatures eat salmon, schooling fish, squid, seals, sea lions, porpoises, and other whale species, and they eat the water's most popular and very feared predator, the sharks. This behavior demonstrates the extraordinary power and dominance orcas hold in the marine world. On the 13th day of June in the year 2022, it was reported that after a show that dazzled the crowd and left them in a very delightful mode, a trainer was rushed to the hospital. Many reports say that the incident was buried away by SeaWorld Orlando, but after a lot of investigation, an investigator by the name of Eric Sandoval finally got his hands on the gruesome report on the event that finally uncovered the story, shedding light on what really happened, right after a dazzling show. After the wonderful show on the 13th of June, Malia, the star orca of the show, had a few debris in her mouth, which consisted of food particles and paint amongst her teeth and the roof of her mouth. A trainer used the pressurized spray bottle to rinse Malia's mouth, but what she essentially did wrong was that she neglected the rule of standing 3 feet away. While she was having the time of her life, the orca suddenly closed its mouth. The investigator noted that the beautiful but yet very powerful intelligent apex predator must have felt tickled as the trainer was using the pressurized spray to rinse its mouth, causing it to suddenly close its mouth. The trainer was rushed to the hospital, and after a lot of surgery, the trainer broke and fractured a few bones in her wrist and forearm. After the surgery at Orlando Regional Medical Center, the trainer survived. OSHA Occupational Safety and Health Administration final report did not charge SeaWorld of any safety violations. The report stated that no citations would be issued because no specific OSHA safety standards apply, and the incident is not considered appropriate at this time to invoke the General Duty Clause. Unlike the case on the 24th of February in the year 2010, where Malia's dad, Tilikum, killed Don Brancheau, a trainer in the middle of the show, OSHA found SeaWorld in 4 safety violations. The story of Don Brancheau and Tilikum is both terrifying and tragic, detailing in truth that no matter the training given to these wonderful creatures and the bond established with them by humans, Mother Nature still runs what goes on in their lives. Dawn was inspired by her first visit to SeaWorld at the age of 10. At that moment, she watched the iconic Shamu leap out of the water. She was filled with awe, and from that moment, she knew she wanted to become a marine animal trainer. Her mother was supportive of her dreams, after seeing her daughter's eyes light up like those stars. As Dawn grew up, her career path became clear. She attended the University of South Carolina, majoring in psychology and animal behavior, which provided her the foundational knowledge she needed for her future in animal training. After college, she worked with dolphins at an attraction in New Jersey, which sharpened her skills a great deal and helped her in learning more about marine animals before finally securing her dream job at SeaWorld. Her love for animals extended beyond her job. She also volunteered at animal shelters and cared for a variety of animals at home, including her 2 Labrador retrievers. Her dedication to fitness and well-being also underscored her commitment to her role, as she maintained peak physical condition to work safely with the massive creatures she loved with the whole of her heart. Dawn's story took a darker turn when she began working with Tilikum, an orca whose past was dipped in trauma, washed off with loneliness and air dried with fear. He was first captured off the coast of Iceland at the age of 2. Tilikum was separated from his family and transported to a small tank at a marine zoo where he was held in isolation. All alone, all he did was swim in circles and lay motionless in the water as even the insides of a tank lacked tides to catch even a little fun. Eventually, he was moved to Sealand of the Pacific, a poorly maintained facility on Vancouver Island. Tilikum shared a tank with 2 older female orcas, Haida II and Nootka IV. In the wild, female orcas generally occupy the top of the social hierarchy, and these two often asserted dominance over the young Tilikum. Sometimes it gets violent. The constant stress and lack of space led him to develop stomach ulcers and resulted in his isolation in a medical pool to prevent further attacks. Sealand's staff recognized Tilikum's declining mental state, so they sought the advice of Bruce Stevens, a former SeaWorld head trainer. Stevens strictly warned them that the orcas needed more stimulation and engagement to prevent boredom and aggression, but the facility lacked resources to implement sufficient improvements. Despite the warnings, Sealand failed to meet the animals' needs, and the stress manifested in very dangerous and aggressive behaviors. 1991 was the first time Tilikum took a life, and he didn't do it alone. The incident occurred at Sealand when Kelty Byrne, a part-time trainer and university student, accidentally fell into the tank with Tilikum and the other orcas. The orcas, maybe acting out years of pent-up stress, attacked her. They dragged her under the water repeatedly until she gave up the ghost. This horrifying incident led Sealand to close permanently, and Tilikum was sold to SeaWorld, despite concerns about his history of aggression. By the time Tilikum arrived at SeaWorld in 1992, he had already been involved in one fatality, but his enormous size and potential for drawing in crowds made him a valuable asset. However, the incidents didn't stop. In 1999, he was linked to another strange fatality involving a homeless man who had snuck into SeaWorld and was later found dead in Tilikum's tank. Despite this, SeaWorld continued to use him in shows, including those featuring Dawn, who had spent years working closely with him. On February 24, 2010, a day like any other at SeaWorld, tragedy struck. During the Dine with Shamu show, Dawn was performing alongside Tilikum, who seemed calm and responsive. She had been petting him, their bond evident to the spectators enjoying their meals nearby. But in a shocking and violent turn, Tilikum suddenly grabbed her ponytail and pulled her into the water. Some witnesses reported that he had seized her by the arm or shoulder instead, but the fact remained that she was dragged under, subjected to an aggressive attack that lasted several minutes. Trainers rushed to intervene as fast as they could. They used nets and food to try to distract him, but Tilikum did not release her until it was too late. The autopsy revealed the horrific extent of Dawn's injuries. Her jaw was shattered, a portion of her spine was broken, her left arm was dislocated, and she suffered multiple fractures. She had drowned due to brute force inflicted by Tilikum. The attack sent shockwaves through SeaWorld and the public, casting a spotlight on the ethical questions surrounding the captivity of such powerful and intelligent animals. Can these creatures truly be domesticated? Following Dawn's death, SeaWorld faced intense scrutiny, not only from the public, but also from government agencies. OSHA found SeaWorld at fault for multiple safety violations. OSHA specifically cited the following safety violations. 1. Failure to provide adequate barriers. OSHA found that SeaWorld did not have proper physical barriers or sufficient safety protocols in place to protect trainers working in close contact with orcas, which created a serious risk of injury or death. Trainers performed in close proximity to Tilikum and other large orcas, exposing themselves to danger without adequate protective measures. 2. Lack of protective equipment and procedures. OSHA highlighted that SeaWorld failed to implement protective equipment or procedural safeguards that could have prevented direct contact between trainers and orcas, especially with Tilikum, known to have a history of aggressive incidents. OSHA suggested that more protective equipment and tools should have been utilized to reduce the risks associated with training and performances. 3. Negligence in recognizing hazards. OSHA determined that SeaWorld had been negligent in recognizing and mitigating hazards presented by Tilikum's behavioral history, including his previous involvement in fatalities. SeaWorld continued to allow close interactions without additional precautions, despite knowledge of these risks. And 4. Failure to train employees in safety protocols. SeaWorld was also cited for not providing adequate training on safety protocols that could help mitigate dangers when working with large marine animals. OSHA noted that the training programs lacked the necessary depth to prepare trainers for handling situations involving potentially aggressive animals like Tilikum. These OSHA violations led to SeaWorld being fined $75,000, with the most serious violation being classified as willful, because SeaWorld knowingly disregarded the need for better protections and precautions. The tragedy even inspired the documentary Blackfish, which examined the captivity and treatment of orcas in marine parks, sparking a public outcry and calls for reform in how these creatures are housed and used for entertainment. This incident prompted OSHA to mandate that trainers could no longer have direct contact with orcas without physical barriers or other protection. Despite Tilikum's involvement in multiple fatalities, he remained at SeaWorld until his own death in 2017, reportedly due to a lung infection. In 2022, after the incident involving Malia, renewed questions emerged over SeaWorld's safety protocols. Critics and animal rights advocates questioned if additional and more robust safety protocols had been put in place to make working with these intelligent, apex predators safer. SeaWorld Orlando refrained from giving a detailed response, but did issue a statement through a spokesperson. He said that the well-being of both animals and staff is a top priority. The spokesperson emphasized that extensive training, safety procedures, and continual evaluations were in place to ensure a safe environment for all the animals and their employees, highlighting that SeaWorld strives to balance animal welfare and trainer safety. OSHA records show that, since the fatal 2010 incident with brancheau, SeaWorld has experienced no additional fatalities involving orcas, which the company views as an indicator of the improved safety measures. While there have been incidents, no other deadly attacks have occurred, suggesting that the updated policies have had a significant impact. However, some experts continue to argue that these precautions may not be sufficient when dealing with powerful social animals like orcas, whose needs may be difficult to fulfill in captivity. They argue that these complex animals often exhibit stress and abnormal behaviors, potentially contributing to unpredictable actions despite the protocols in place. SeaWorld's response and evolving safety practices show the ongoing debate over the ethical and logistical challenges of keeping large marine mammals in captivity, balancing entertainment, education, and the need for humane treatment. The incident with Dawn remains a stark reminder of the inherent risks involved in dealing with these powerful creatures, prompting ongoing evaluations to ensure the safety of both trainers and animals alike. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to watch our next one shown on screen.